Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm really happy. Thank you. Honestly, it's truly an honor to be here. And I heard that you just made the top 10 of the
Yeah.
best in Florida business podcasts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Thanks for the shout out. That was pretty cool to kind of get that. And I don't know how they put the list together or whatever, but it's cool to be recognized,
Yeah,
for the work,
you've had
right?
a lot of great interviews. I've
Yeah.
been listening to your podcast.
Sweet.
The most recent one, I think his name was Mike. I want to say Nick. It was Nick.
Oh, Nick Price. Yeah.
Yes, I loved his about real estate.
Yeah.
Allison, and then Mayate.
Maite.
Mate. Oh
Yep.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are all really, really good.
Yeah.
All great episodes.
It's cool. Like, I think as I've progressed in with the podcast, like I've kind of one, like the skill set, like you get better at having conversations and then finding the right people too. Like you're attracting the people that you want to interview and talk to and that sort of stuff, right? So you kind of niche that down a little bit, and it becomes more fun and more engaging for myself and for the listeners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're 3 years now on that
Yeah.
journey, and just all the things that you learn. Because as business owners or entrepreneurs or just people chasing your purpose, sometimes you
For
just
sure.
throw yourself into these things, and you learn as you go.
For
You
sure.
don't know what to expect necessarily. You just have this burning desire. Like I'm going to do this. I want to do this.
Yeah.
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 I understand.
It's interesting. I think that's what got me into real estate.
Mm.
Like I was at a point in my life where, it was kind of like, okay, what's the next step? Like I need something to like latch onto. And so doing a bunch of research, and then I got to a point where it's like, okay, I have to give this a try. I have
What were
to
you doing
see.
before real estate?
I have a degree in biology, so I
Oh.
was working towards physical therapy or physician's assistant, and started a master's program. And I was like, I'm done with school. I need something to do.
Yeah.
And I'd bounced around like trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my career and life, and for quite a few years, and then I kind of settled on in real estate, and then just kind of like led me to here. But
Great. Congratulations on
yeah.
all your success
Yeah,
there.
thank you.
Yeah.
So let's start with your story and going back to the beginning. Like, have you always wanted to own a business?
You know what? I just grew up like hustler background, like for me, it was kind of just like do or die sometimes, like my father, he was a hustler and he would always like find things on the side of the road, fix it up, sell it. I mean, me and my brother, when we were little kids, we would hold doors open for people and try to get some change for like the gumball machine, or in high school,
Yeah.
selling body jewelry, trying to, flip that money. And then I would say after I got my grooming certification was when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go in business for myself. That's when my entrepreneurial journey truly began. I ended up being fired from the pet care facility that I was working at. And that very next day, I went into the library and I was like, nope, I'm making a business. I made my business cards and I just went out there and started advertising myself on Craigslist, and I was a business owner overnight.
Crazy.
Right?
Was that? Yeah, it's interesting. Like, had you thought about that before, or is it just like, was it really like an overnight decision? Like, okay, I just lost my job. What am I going to do next?
Literally, yeah. It was just like, well, I knew. So when I was working at that pet store, I was actually kind of like on the sales floor, and some of the people from the grooming department were like, hey, you should try to, you be really good at this. You can make your own money. You don't have to, rely on the hourly wage.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, that they put that idea in my head, and I took it and ran with it. I wasn't expecting to leave the company.
Yeah.
But when I did, I mean, I didn't hesitate. I was just, you have to bet on yourself. And
Yeah.
I knew at that point, I think at that time I must have been about 23.
Okay.
And I knew at that point that I'm going to be successful no matter what I put my mind to. And I believed in myself. And that's truly where it starts.
Where does that belief come from?
Man, where does that belief come from? Just the support of my family and the love that's always been surrounding me. My mother and my father were really good at just reminding me that they love me and that they were supportive of me. So I felt that I could take chances, I could make risks, and I just felt confident in what I could do.
Yeah. That's a huge part of being an entrepreneur, right? Is to have that confidence, that belief in yourself when like nobody else does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My daughter, she's an entrepreneur now too. She's 6.
Crazy.
Yeah.
6? So she's following in your footsteps, right?
Yeah. She has a lemonade stand. It's called Namaste Lemonade. And we're
Cool.
not just a lemonade stand, actually. So we sell holistic, plant-based lemonade. It's keto friendly. We're going to be partnering tomorrow with NAMI Walks, NAMI Pinellas,
Okay.
to raise funds for mental health awareness in
Cool.
Pinellas Park.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, so we're making waves. We're doing things, and she's learning how to be an entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
she's doing her best. At 6 years old, she's, has to learn to speak in front of people
Yeah.
and, like just give her a little 30-second elevator speech
Yeah.
at that age.
It's such a great skill set to develop and practice. I think even at an early age, right? Whether she's going to be an entrepreneur or not, or run her own business, right? Just having that confidence and belief in yourself to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to support it.
Yeah.
I try to support her in anything she wants to do and just exploring her creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like for me in my business, when I am really centered in my femininity, that's when my creativity just flows. And when I have that strong sense of creativity, my business is flowing too. Part for me of regulating my business is regulating my nervous system and truly honing in on that creative space or that flow state for things to just open up.
For sure.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to like your first year in the grooming business when you started your own business. Like, what was that first year like for you, learning and growing and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, wow. Well, you know what? It was actually a lot easier than I thought.
Interesting.
I was working out of my home at the time, and I got on Craigslist. I just started putting up ads almost every day. I had a referral program, which is amazing. It just brought in so many clients for me. I think part of it also was there's something that I feel like my true purpose is to just love and bring love and light into, any room that I'm in. And one of the things that I was doing in that company, in my business, was just loving on the dogs, loving on the owners, and just bringing that like high vibe, loving energy in, and people just naturally come to you.
Yeah.
And they want to refer you.
Yeah.
There were so many times where while I was learning how to groom dogs, like maybe I made a little mistake or things weren't perfect, but the fact that I had those soft skills, like your soft skills are so much more important than your hard skills, right? So that's really what resonated with people. But it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard, but it did make it a lot easier when I started my skin business.
Mm-hmm. And so when did you start your skin business? How long has that been now?
Oh, so it's been almost 4 years.
Okay.
Almost 4 years. I started it right after COVID. So 2021, which was interesting because I kind of just took a chance again, and I knew that I would be successful because I was really good at what I did. Before I started that skincare business, I was working at a dermatologist's office, medical assisting. And just to backtrack a little bit, I moved to Florida. So let's go back a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Another step.
There's so much. Like, I'm telling you, this episode is going to be so juicy. There's so much to cover. Oh my goodness. Let me not get ahead of myself. So after my grooming business, I decided that I wanted to break into the beauty business. So I was grooming dogs for a while. And 2014 was kind of around the time when the age of the influencer started happening and people were on YouTube doing their own makeup tutorials and just kind of like really owning their sovereignty and stepping into that. And I was watching and I said, you know what, I'm going to teach myself how to be a makeup artist and I want to work in the makeup industry, right? And that's what I did. And I taught myself, and I mean, I was there with like a pen and paper, like taking notes off YouTube University.
Yeah.
And I taught myself enough to ace an interview. And I aced the interview at this big beauty company. And they didn't know this was like my first gig, right? You know, maybe the manager with my resume, but the other workers there. I ended up being hired and they said, "Oh, do you work for Mac? Who did you work for before this?" You know, and I was like, this is literally like my first
Yeah.
gig.
Yeah.
From there, I met an esthetician and I was already in love with biochemistry, anatomy, physiology. I already had some of that background and when I was in college. And I started to pick her brain. And when I found out just how much biochemistry and science, you know, goes into it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I want to do this one
Mm-hmm.
day, right? Like this is great. And it just planted a little seed. Um, and I was doing the makeup artistry thing for a few years. I was doing really well. And then I became pregnant. And when I became pregnant, I was like, oh, okay, I don't want to do this retail thing
It's
anymore. Like these
tough. Right.
hours.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm ready to really for my next level up. So 6 weeks before I actually had my daughter, I moved to Florida. Things weren't going the greatest for me where I was at the
Mm-hmm.
time. I was living in Delaware. And I was convinced to move to Florida where my mother, my sister was, and I had a support system.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple days after I moved here, I signed up for the clinical skincare program
Okay.
in Clearwater at American Institute of Beauty. And then 12 weeks after I had my baby, I started school. And I just hit the ground running. I didn't let anything stop me there because I was going through such a hard time.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I had already been homeless. And I found my way back. I had been through such a dark period of time. But no matter what, there was this glimmer of hope, this light that just it wouldn't let me quit.
Mm.
I became so focused on my healing and the bettering of myself that I knew I needed to pass that down to my child. I
Mm.
knew that if I was going to bring another life into this world, that this child needed to be better than me.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
wanted to give my child the best chances at thriving, not just surviving, because that's
Yeah.
all I knew how to do all my life was survive.
Survive. Yeah. Where does that instinct come from to be the best version of yourself? Is it because of your daughter, or was it something before that
I,
triggered that?
I was ready to get out of my own way, man. I was in, like I said, a very dark place. I mean, I
Yeah.
was having suicidal thoughts before and during my pregnancy. I was just so tired of being in such dark places. And I knew that I was made for more. I knew that there was a greater purpose for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I started doing was studying the law of attraction. I started just the same way I did YouTube University with my
Yeah.
makeup artistry. I did it for self-help. And I started learning how to recreate your thoughts, control your mind, law of attraction. I picked up this book called The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by
Mm-hmm.
Deepak Chopra. And that book was pivotal for
Yeah.
me. Oh my gosh. And I studied that book. I've read it several times. I took notes on it. And the chapter that stuck out with me the most is the last chapter. It's called the Law of Dharma. And Dharma is a Sanskrit term for your purpose, your life's purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was a little girl, my sister was in the car with me and she said, what do you think your life's purpose is? Everyone has a purpose.
She's your older sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
My oldest sister. I have 2.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know. And that stuck with me for the rest of my life.
How old were you then?
Oh my gosh, I was probably like 6.
Isn't that crazy? Like something like so minor in that moment, probably, right? Just
Unbelievable.
yeah.
And having a 6-year-old daughter now, I think like,
Yeah.
what are the things that I say or do that,
Right.
like just might drop that seed, good or bad, right?
Right.
So we do things
Right.
consciously or subconsciously. And so I try to be aware of that
Yeah.
because we're impressionable at that age.
Yeah.
So when I read that purpose, the law of Dharma, I was like, wow, I want to know what my purpose is.
Mm.
But I didn't make it a point to just figure it out. Like I needed to know right then and there. I allowed it to flow. I just
Mm.
kept chasing whatever felt good to me at the time. And that's how I go about my business now. Just what feels good, what makes me feel great, what fires me up, what lights my soul.
Mm-hmm. Do you have your purpose defined now? Are you still kind of
I believe my purpose is just to bring light and
yeah,
love and healing, just with my story alone.
for
I
sure.
feel that I've inspired a lot of people, and that I'm going to continue through that pain to gain, turning what's happened in my past into triumph and just being authentic,
Yeah.
showing up in the most authentic way you can. We try to, even like in this like a podcast interview, we try to come in and we want to be perfect. We want
Yeah.
to, say all the right things, but just existing is good in itself.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that idea, that thought is like coming through more on social media now of like just being authentic. It doesn't have to be perfect or whatever. And people appreciate that,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They want that.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. The people are starting to awaken to, like uncovering the veil,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's happening everywhere you look,
Mm-hmm.
without getting too deep into it. But
Yeah.
everywhere you look, people are starting to question and they're
Mm-hmm.
starting to seek truth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of my purpose is just being authentic and
Mm-hmm.
showing up in that loving vibration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Is that a challenge? Is that a challenge for you, like in business, to like you mentioned, like just going in flow with like what feels right, like what fires you up? I see a lot of business owners, or just I can see like the struggle of like, okay, I need to put food on the table, I need to get clients. Like, how do I do that? But also, how do I balance like what fires you up?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that was actually a struggle of mine for a while. I went through another dark period just a couple years ago. And I took such a step back from my business. I mean, it was really hard to, I wasn't networking. I wasn't, I was barely doing anything, just trying to survive. And it was through this nonprofit organization called Empowerment.
Mm,
I'm a brand ambassador for them because I just love them. They helped me get back
mm-hmm.
on my feet. They gifted me free counseling sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, I was able to kind of like clear out some space and make more room for my business. Through that healing journey, I was able to start to show up for my business in a more intentional way. So I
Mm,
struggled with creating content, putting my authenticity out there. And community is so important.
mm,
That's what helped me. And that's what continues to help me when I'm struggling with my business. Also, learning how to take a step back because as entrepreneurs, as mothers, even single mothers, we have a lot on our plate and we're constantly um, trying to f- manage the moving parts.
yeah.
But I've learned when to take a step back, when to regulate my nervous system. When I start to feel like, oh, I have to do this, otherwise this isn't going to happen, or I'm not going to, be able to pay rent. I take a step back and I come back to myself. I ground myself in nature. I spend time with my daughter. I do things that fire me up, put that light back in my furnace, in my soul, and from there everything else flows. I
Mm,
don't have to worry because I'm attracting. We are already abundant. And so when I tap into that frequency, I allow it to come to me. I don't chase it.
mm-hmm.
I attract it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. When you mentioned like grounding yourself in nature, or the things to like ground yourself,
Mhm.
how did you discover those?
Ooh, I, so back to the law of attraction,
Yeah.
and you kind of go down that rabbit hole of spirituality, and I just meditation, breathing,
Mm,
breath work, um I just, and I actually I went to a retreat. My very first retreat was in Sedona. And actually, no, that was my second retreat. My very first retreat was in Valrico. My second retreat was in Sedona. And I've just been following that path of learning how to surrender and how to connect to everything that's around me. So now what it looks like for me is, if I'm starting to feel a little burnt out or, fatigued, I go to the park
Mm-hmm.
and I play the Native American flute, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
I've picked that up along my spiritual
Okay.
journey.
Cool.
So, I go into the
You
woods.
should have brought it with you today.
Oh no, that's the next episode,
Yeah,
Donnie.
yeah. We gotta save it. We gotta save it.
Right. I can't give you everything all at once. Come on, this is too juicy. But that's what it looks like to me now, just like spending some time outdoors, soaking up the sun,
Yeah.
and just talking to God, source, creator, and letting the insight come to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. For me, like being outside, being in nature is something that helps me too. And like just being able to like put the phone away, get away from the electronics and stuff, and just sit there in your own thoughts and let them like just come through. Right.
Yeah. Sometimes it's part of like my visualization practice is
Yeah.
just picture your thoughts like people walking by. You're sitting on a park bench and people are just walking past you, and those are your thoughts. I need to just let them go, like acknowledge them. Oh, I see a person, I see a thought, and you just let it go instead of holding on to it or trying to dig deeper into it.
Yeah.
Just surrender
Yeah.
to the flow.
Yeah. Do you do like any visualization techniques to like for your goals or your dreams or future or anything like that?
Oh, that's huge. Visualization is huge. Yeah.
So this is something I struggle. I haven't probably committed to it long enough maybe to figure it out. Maybe that's part of the problem, but like that's something that's difficult. Is that skill set?
There's no wrong way. It's a
Yeah,
practice.
Yeah.
Meditation is a practice.
Right.
Yoga is a practice.
Yeah.
Spirituality is a practice. It's not something you get perfect. It's not something that it's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it might look different for you than it does for me. We learn along the way. It's totally okay. I started off barely able to, I was constantly thinking. My brain is like always working, so we have to come back to our breath. And that's part of why I've learned to, why I'm learning to regulate my nervous system through breath, because we catch ourselves doing these things.
Yeah.
And you just come back to your breath. I like to breathe in for a count of 3, breathe out for a count of 3, and just make it a more rhythmic flow.
I love it. Let's talk about your business, Savvy Sarah's Skin and Healing Therapies, for a little bit. My first question is like your vision for your brand and like what you're doing with that. Like, where did that come from, or how early on did you have this vision for this business?
Well, I was getting ready to go into business for myself, and then COVID happened. Like I was buying the machinery, I was buying the products, and I was just kind of collecting everything while I was working part-time as an esthetician, and then I was working full-time as a medical assistant at the dermatologist's office. And COVID happened and everything shut down. Luckily, the dermatologist's office was still open for like surgeries and things like that. So I still had a job. But here I am sitting on thousands of dollars worth of equipment and product. And I'm like, what am I going to do? After a year, when Florida started to kind of relax a little bit more and things started opening up, I was like, I'm taking this chance and I'm doing it. And from there, I just flowed. I just was trying to find the next right thing to do. I rented out a spot in Largo, and then my goal was to get into this really nice swanky spot in Dunedin. I was like, man, when I can afford that, I'm there, right? And I gave myself a year goal back to visualization.
Yeah.
Because I saw myself there. I would make that my goal to be in this space and create this atmosphere that was loving and bright and just luxurious, and it just made you feel really good. And my purpose for my business now is to just, when you walk into my treatment room, I want you to feel like your overall well-being is being cleansed
Mm.
and healed. And when I rebranded, I went from Skin Savvy Sarah to Savvy Sarah Skin and Healing Therapies. After a few years on my transformation awakening journey, I wanted to find a way to merge my spirituality with my healing gifts in the treatment room. And that's why I changed the name and I started incorporating crystal healing. So I have a chakra balancing facial, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I do some things with smoky quartz and rose quartz as well in the treatment room. And my clients have just reported just an overall, heightening of well-being and just releasing that tension. And it makes
Mm-hmm.
me feel so good to be able to provide that type of care
Yeah.
and love to other people.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future of your business?
Oh
What do you see
man.
with that?
I've visualized, I've seen myself on stage several times, just
Okay.
telling my story,
Cool.
teaching. And I want to teach other estheticians. I want to inspire, young entrepreneurs, people like my daughter and around her age group as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make a positive impact on the community.
Mm-hmm.
Community has helped me come such a long way, and I want to give back in any way that I can. And just, again, just bringing that love and that light to wherever I go or whatever I do. And we'll just see where the journey takes me. Like, I want to create courses, think there's so many
Cool.
different things in the works.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
Yeah. I feel like that's like any entrepreneur, right? Like there's always things that are in the works and some things pan out the way that you planned and visioned and some don't, right?
Yeah, the wheels are always turning.
Yeah.
We're always, we as entrepreneurs, if we just have this burning desire to go and to do and to create and to evolve, like we're not complacent.
Yeah. Part of that is like the balance of, growing like what you have created, I think, right? Instead of just, I call it like squirrel syndrome, right? Where you're just like next thing, what's the next?
Yeah,
best
like
thing?
too many irons in the fire or something like that. Like kind of just like honing in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in my skincare business, what I love to do is work with acne clients, hyperpigmentation clients. That's I actually suffered with severe acne. And after I had my daughter, I mean, it was terrible. And mind you, I had my esthetician license. It was also embarrassing. Here I am, I'm like top in the district, but yet I have like all these breakouts on my face. And I'm like, luckily these people trusted me, because I knew my stuff. I was highly educated, but I had to work out their hormones, right? And that's part of why I work holistically within my practice now, because you can't just slap skincare on and expect things to change. Like there's deeper underlying conditions going on, and healing the gut is number one. And that even ties into healing your nervous system, regulating your nervous system. Your gut is part of your brain. That's the gut-brain axis, right? So everything ties in together. You want to look at things like a whole.
Yeah. I think a lot more people are starting to do that now, which is good, right? And finding solutions to those deeper underlying issues.
Oh yeah. Herbal remedies and I've been studying Ayurveda, which is
What is that?
It's a Hindu science.
Okay.
It's, Indian science. I'm sorry. And it's part of looking at the body as a whole, your health as a whole, unlike Western medicine where it's like, you're not feeling well, take this pill. We're looking at overall well-being, like from start to finish. And I like to bring that into my treatment room too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which is part of the reason why it's all about your overall well-being, just calming down, slowing down, and allowing your body to just relax.
Yeah. Where's your office located right now?
I am in Dunedin, inside of Dunedin Commons.
Is this the spot that you wanted to be
Oh,
in?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You-
So, yeah, I made that 1-year goal and I
Nice.
did it. Yeah, I did it within that time frame, which is great. And I love my place. I'm Suite 114 in Image Studios. It's right off of Patricia Ave, going towards Virginia Ave in Dunedin. And it's really, I just moved into Palm Harbor recently, and it's right up the street from my house, which
Yeah.
is even better.
That's nice, right? No long drives, none of that.
Not a
Yeah.
lot of traffic. It's easy peasy.
Yeah, that's cool. And we'll have your links for your website and socials in the description below for anybody that is interested
Thank
in
you.
hanging out with Sarah. But thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is great. We could have talked all day, but
Yeah.
we got things to do.
Round 2.
Right?
Yeah, we'll come back.
Oh yeah, I look forward to it. There's so much to cover.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Donnie.